Are we doing are we
New,
doing Basi Lagani today?
yes, God willing, we'll do Basi Lagani. We'll have
Okay.
every day we'll do four classes. Four classes. We'll also do Basi Lagani until we get up this year. And Bati Lagani is the 14th paragraph. So we'll do it's a little bit difficult, the 14th paragraph, talking about how God creates the world in detail. But we can do it. We can do it. Here we are. Today we're learning a new mimer, a new Hasidic discourse. This is the beginning of this week's Torah portion. I couldn't resist going in the middle because it talks about we learned a shorter mimer about the stick, Moses' staff turning into a snake and the snake turning into a staff, which is the whole point of Judaism, to show that the whole world, including the bad things in the world, can be brought to their source and explain why they're there, and can actually be used for good. Some have to be eliminated and some not. We'll get to Purim soon. We'll talk about Haman and things that are totally not fixable, can't be correctable, uncorrectable. But that's very rare. Most things in the world can be corrected and fixed up, and that's the whole point of the snake really coming from the staff and then going back to the staff again to show that really what the source is. Okay, now here we go. This week's Torah portion begins with God speaking to Moses and answering a question that Moses asked in the end of last week's Torah portion. Let's do this here. And Moses says that to God, why are you torturing the Jewish people? What did the Jewish people do to deserve this terrible treatment that they've been getting for the last 210 years? Or like we learned yesterday, those people do chita, that we do a portion of the Chumash every day, that the Jews, the actual terrible servitude of the Jews, the slavery of the Jews really began after Levi passed away, which was like 116 years before they got out of 16 years, 100 before they got out of Egypt. So that's when the real, hard servitude. But even one moment of it was too much. So Moses is asking God, why are you doing this to the Jewish people? And this is the answer. That's this week's Torah portion is the answer. So what does God answer? God says, Vo'era al Avram, I appeared to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov in this aspect of me, which is called El Shaddai. It's one of the names of God. Really, it's two names, but it's names put together. El Shaddai. That's the name of. Now, the different names of God are just different aspects of God, because Judaism it's very important to know this. That's why it's important to know a little bit, at least, of Kabbalah, the secrets of Judaism, because the different names of God are different aspects of God. And the whole idea of aspects of God is to show that God cares about the world and God is involved in the world, and that God affects the world, cares about the world. And if you don't think this thought, if you don't think that God is involved, then that's where idolatry comes in. That's where you have to have somebody in the middle, and you worship a person, or you worship a star, or you worship an angel, or you worship something. And that's called idolatry. That's strange service. Avodah zarah. Avodah zarah comes because you think that God exists, but very far away. He's like the God of all gods. He's the president of the gods. He doesn't get involved. The president of the United States doesn't get involved in fixing the roads or going out and making new parks or things like that. He has his servants doing that. But he's not there. So we're saying no, that God personally does everything. True, he does it. There are angels and there are these other things, but these angels are being created by God. It's not that they're separate existences from God. So therefore, you can't worship anything except for the Creator. That's the way God wanted it. But God has different aspects. There's different aspects. God's kindness, God's severity, and God conceals himself. That's how he makes the world. So it says, up to now, I have not revealed my essence name, my essence to the Jewish people. For instance, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they only got my name El Shaddai. Shmi Hashem, but the name Yud Ke Vav Ke, I did not make known to them. Okay, that's how this Torah portion begins. Vo'era, I appeared. Excuse me. Vo'era means appeared. That's the name of this Torah portion. Vo'era, and I appeared. Hine vo'era. This word, first word of our Torah portion, vo'era, yeshbo, base prushim, has two meanings. One is avar, past, vo'era, and I appeared. That's a simple meaning. Shinit galel avot, that I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But another is future. In Hebrew, if you put a vav in front of a verb, it changes the tense of the verb. For instance, we always see a lot of times, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, Vayomer, Vayedaber. Yomer, Omer means to speak. Yomer means he will speak. Vayomer means he did speak. But you put a vav in front of it, it's a good past time. So era means I will speak. Vaera means I did speak. But that's one way in Hebrew grammar. Another one is vav also can mean I did speak. I did speak. And one means I will speak. Va means and. Era means I will. Lashon atid, which is also hove, present. In Hebrew, like I will speak and I am speaking, it's the same thing. Va-era and I am speaking, it's constant. That's yesh bechina zu bekol zman. In other words, this aspect of va-era is, we can say it's something that God did. That's the simple meaning. He spoke, I did. God is saying, I did speak to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Or va-era, I am speaking to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I am speaking. This is something which is in all time, b'kol adam, and every person. God is saying, I am speaking to the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob inside of you. Kihine, because behold, there's only three that are called the fathers of Judaism. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Why are they called the fathers of Judaism? Why not they just called the beginners of Judaism, the first Jews? They're called the fathers. Why the father? Because the father inherits something to his son. We have the same DNA. It says, avos, that's the Jewish soul. This level of avos is a Yerusha, it's an inheritance to their children. After them. Okay, again, just so you don't think that the purpose of Judaism is to educate the entire world what God is. If the Jews don't do their job, then the world does not know what God is, and we can see that that's the way the world is now. All these religions and everything, which are very nice, they all of them have it wrong. All of them have it wrong. All of them have a wrong idea of what God is, especially in regard to the Torah. That God took the Jews out of Egypt and gave them his Torah and told the rabbis to interpret the Torah properly. That's truth. No one got that point right. Even most of the Jews didn't get it right. But the Moshiach is going to come and make everybody get it right. There's only one God, there's only one Torah, and the Jews are supposed to come and tell the whole world that the God exists, God is creating everybody, and that there's a Torah, and the Torah is telling everybody what to do. 7 Noahide commandments for the non-Jews, 613 for the Jews. So the Jew, when we talk about the Jews, we're talking about a people that was chosen by God to educate the world to what's true. To what's true, what's right. It was like generations and generations before they got the idea that there were germs. Just take an example, right? They used to make operations in operating rooms. They couldn't figure out why people died because they didn't know there was germs. They didn't know you had to clean off your instruments. Someone came along and revealed the truth. There's germs, clean off your instruments. All of a sudden, the mortality rate dropped like, thousands of percent because somebody came and told the truth. The same thing, the Jews are here to tell the truth. The truth is idolatry is not good. Licentiousness is not good. Right? These are the 7 Noahide commandments. Murder is not good. Don't think it's good. Stealing is not good. Lying is not good. Absolute. So the Jews they're chosen. Why? How do you become a Jew? So either you become a Jew because God made you a Jew. I mean, and basically that's the only way you can become a Jew is if God made you a Jew. But there are some people that have Jewish souls, but they're in non-Jewish bodies. So they have to go through this process Why do they even want to go through the process? Because they have a Jewish soul. That's why they make it hard on converts. And converts. Because to find out if his soul really wants Judaism, a person who really wants Judaism genuinely means that he's going to be like Abraham. Abraham went through 10 terrible tests. Everything went wrong. Right? Abraham made a covenant with God. Everything went wrong. He only had troubles, only disappointments. God let him down 10 times. Right? And nevertheless, he said, I don't care. I'm not here for any reason, just to serve the Creator. I don't care what he does to me. I'm here for the Creator. Not for any benefits that I get. I want the benefits, no doubt about it, but that's not why I'm here. So that's what a Jew is. A Jew is a person that has this self-sacrifice from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we're here to pass this idea of self-sacrifice. In other words, forget about improving yourself as being the main point of why you're here. That's not the main point of why you're here. That will ensue from doing the truth, but that's not to be pursued. Your pursuit is to serve the Creator of the universe. He's creating you. That's the job of the Jewish people. Okay, where do we get this from? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So God is saying, okay, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they were special people, but not us. Says the Rebbe, no. The Torah is coming to tell us the era that I am appearing now to every single Jew, to the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob inside of you. So you have the power and you have the fortitude and you have the courage and the joy and all the things that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had. You have them inside of you. But they have to be activated. And once they're activated, then you can start thinking about your job and not thinking about yourself so much. The Inyan Shebechinas Avos, this idea of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, this is a Yerusha, it's an inheritance to their children after them, Bechol Dor V'Dor, in every generation, each person according to his ability. Lochem, therefore, Omrim, we say, Elokei Avotenu, we say the God of our fathers. In the prayer, in the Shemon Esrei prayer, we say the God of our fathers, the God of Abraham. We don't just say the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We start off by calling them first God of our fathers. Why? Because they gave us an inheritance of all the other levels of the tzaddikim, like, for instance, Reuven, Shimon, Levi. These are certainly levels of godliness, but there's some people that have them, and some people that don't. Some people don't. Reuven, for instance, is seeing God. How many people see God, right? That's only the big tzaddikim. They see that God is creating them. Who sees that? People would go up to the holy temple, right? They would see that God is creating them. They would feel it, but not really. Only the high priest could go into the Holy of Holies. He would really see and feel that he's being created by God, that the world is this amazing miracle. He would feel it. So not everybody has Reuven, not everybody has Shimon. Masha'enkim, which is not the case. The fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has to be in every single Jew. Shehem, that this is the source of all Neshamas Yisrael, of all the souls of the Jewish people. Okay, so that's the idea of Va'era, that I am appearing right now to the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which is inside of every single Jew. And the job of the Jews, what are they supposed to do with this revelation? Like I said before, to educate the world, to teach the world. Because the Jews are only here to educate the world what is the truth, what do you call it? To reciprocate is a better word for it. Your creator, how to repay back your creator. He's creating you for free, right? And he'll do it even if you do all the sins in the world. He'll keep creating you because God has faith in every human being. But come on, a little bit of gratitude. Let's repay him. It's not healthy. It's healthier to repay the creator. Just like the person, whoever it was, and revealed, there are germs everywhere. What was Lister or somebody? How was that? I don't remember his name. Well, having to understand Inyan Gilo is there to reveal this. What is it in every generation? What does it mean that God is revealing himself to the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob inside of me, inside of every Jew? In the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which is inside of every single Jew. Hine, Hagalut, exile, is compared to Ibur, like a fetus in the mother's womb. A fetus in the mother's womb. Contrary to, what is it, leftist, wokist, whatever opinion, a fetus is a human being. A fetus is a human being. Right? There's different laws of what. Anyway, fetus is a human being. But it's not 100% a human being. Not 100% human being. It doesn't have any speech. It doesn't have the power of speech, of thought, of maybe thought, yes, but but it doesn't interact with the world. That's the whole thing of being born, is that you interact with the world. Even though the fetuses do interact with the world, they say that that they react to their mother's emotions. Anyway, but we know that a fetus is not a full-fledged human being. That's like the Jewish people when they were in Egypt. They were like a fetus. They didn't really see, they didn't really hear, they didn't have any senses, they weren't attached in any way. They couldn't express their individuality. They weren't, so to speak, individuals. They were like more part of their mother than they were individuals. The Geula, the redemption of the Jewish people, and especially in the days of the Moshiach, which will be right now in our days, Nimshal is compared to birth. So the Jews, when they were in Egypt, they were like a fetus, and the fact is we are too. Like it says, it says that went into birth pains and also gave birth Zion at her children. I mean, we've been in birth pains for 42,000 years, so it's a little bit hard to understand this metaphor, but here it goes. That's what the Rebbe is saying. We'll see when it happens, because Yisrael notim b'tzara, when the Jewish people are in difficulties, God forbid, chas v'shalom, kativ, it says, ki ba'u banim al mashber, it says that the children have come to, I say, giving birth, the koach en laleda, and they don't have power to actually be born. A woman, labor. A woman goes into labor pains, 2,000 years of labor pains. And also the same thing as the days of the Mashiach. It's called the days of Chevle Leda, the labor pains. All these 2,000 years are labor pains. The Jewish people in Egypt were labor pains to get out, and now we're in labor pains to get out of the exile. Is it worth it? Huh? Well, until we see the actual exile, doesn't seem to be worth it. Doesn't pan out. It doesn't make much sense. But when the redemption does come and we have faith, what can you do? We have faith that it'll come. It's not a very good selling point. It's not a very good selling point. It's like trying to sell somebody a car or something like that. And the person says, but there's no motor in this car. What type of a car is? Don't worry, there'll be a motor. There's going to be a motor, but there's no steering wheel. What type of a car is this? All the tires are flat. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. I'm telling you, there's going to be tires, and it's going to work. It's going to work. It says, but there's no gas tank in the thing. How is it going to? Just don't worry, have faith. The same thing here with Jewish people, 2,000 years. What are you talking about? There's revealed godliness. I don't see any godliness. There's no motor. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere. There's no wheels. Don't worry. It's going to be okay. Okay. What can you do? You have to have emunah, faith. That's Jewish people. What are you going to do? It says that's the idea of that's giving birth. Giving birth, it says, is going to be, that's called chevlet. It's called birth pains. Like it says, ki chevlitz leida yoba'ulach. It says the pains of birth pains will come to you. One of the prophecies. The came Gulas Mitzrayim. The same thing. Now let's not think about right now. Let's think about something that really did happen. In fact, the Jewish people were in Egypt, and in fact, the Jewish people also gave up, just like we're giving up. And they had a lot of good reasons to give up, like we also do. Maybe they even had better reasons, right? There was like in Egypt, like all the Jewish people were there, and all of them were slaves, and all of them were suffering. So it says also going out of Egypt, also Himshil, even though it says that the tribe of Levi was not so much in exile, but they were all in Egypt. They couldn't get out. The exile of Egypt, Himshil, is the prophet Yechezkel, it compares the whole idea of going out of Egypt for giving birth. b'yom haleda, on the birthday. Like it says, I gave birth to you the day that you were born, the day that would Passover, when we got out of Egypt. Lo karat saracha. Okay, you have to read in Yechezkel. So he compares the going out of Egypt to giving birth. Let's understand Mashal Malitza to understand this metaphor and this example. Somebody took my tissue from my room here. Okay. Okay. Lahavin Mashal Malitza to understand this metaphor of giving birth, and how this whole exile that we're in now is like birth pains, and going out of Egypt was giving birth. We have to understand, what is this idea of a fetus? Get used to it, because that's who we are. We are fetuses. No no insult intended, but that's who we are. We are Jewish people, a big fetus for the last 2,000 years. What is this idea? Well, it says something like that was also the same thing when the Jews were in Egypt. They were like a big fetus, a baby in the womb of its mother. Kihine, Omer Rizal, the rabbis say, Drash Rav Simlai. Rav Simlai said, Lama Havalad Domet. To what is a fetus similar when it's in the womb of its mother? The Pinkas to a what is it? Like a table that's folded up. Rosho Bain Berkov, right? They fold it over. So how does it work here? You have a thing like this here. You have a wallet, right? So what do? You fold it over. So this time was the top. So all of a sudden it becomes the bottom, especially if you go like this. So here's like this here. So you have like this. Here's the wallet, and then you fold it over. So the top part was like this. So it's folded over. So the top becomes the bottom. It's like a pinka. A pinkas is also like a, what do you call it? A folder. A folder. You fold it over. Makupa, you fold it over. Rosho ben berkov. And now a fetus, its head is between its knees, the ikvotav, and its heels al agvotav are on its thighs. The ochel, and it eats mima she'imo ochelet. So in other words, the top goes down and the bottom, the heels go up. And it eats what its mother eats. It has no separate identity. Upiv satum, its mouth is closed. Utoboro, but its navel, what's it called? Its umbilical cord, petuach, is open. But when it comes into the atmosphere, to the world, is born. Niftach hasatum, what was closed before, the eyes and the ears and the mouth were closed. It becomes niftach, it opens up what was closed. The nistam, and becomes closed what was open. The navel, the umbilical cord becomes closed up. Hainu sheyesh la'ubar, there is to a child, to a fetus, called chatuch every rosh. It has a head, and it has eyes, and it has ears, but sharosha makupal, but the head is bent over, umunach ben berkav, and it's between the knees. The head doesn't do anything. The head does the same thing as what the knees do. What do the knees do? Nothing. It can't walk around. It can't think. It can't ruminate, contemplate. Also the eyes. It has eyes, but it can't see. It has ears, and it can't hear. Also food. It doesn't come through the mouth. Even though it does eat what its mother eats, but it doesn't go through the mouth. But derech tabur, it comes through the navel cord. Ubenei me'ayin bilvad, and the only thing that's really working are the stomach, the intestines. Higdil aguf, in order to make the body grow up, or the fetus. Kamoshenir, like we see clearly, shebetisha yorchei leda, that in the 9 months of pregnancy, nigdal gufu, the body of the child grows. Over derech, but for the mouth to go, the food go through the mouth. In other words, it should go through the heart, and then to the brain. She'aim, right from the stomach to the heart to the brain, She'aim Ivri Anashima, they are the limbs of giving breath, of breathing. Even though all the limbs of the fetus are complete, the Yeshbo Ivri Anashima, it has lungs also. Nevertheless, it doesn't. All these things are not used at all. Ein lo neshama nishmat ruach chaim. It doesn't have a what's called a living soul of breathing. Ad until it comes to the air of the world. Sha'az then motzi call. It brings out a voice, like it says the Rizal. Sha'az zeh siman later. That's a sign of giving birth. Hashmi'i levalad l'tziut. You hear the child cry out. Rosho, its head came out. Because the head came out, and therefore the head came out. Because the head came out, as soon as the head comes out, then but all the time that the head is inside of the womb, the child does not breathe and it doesn't call out, and therefore it doesn't send any life to the the respiratory system. Respiratory system does not work at all. Okay, what's this got to do? The only thing that works are the digestive system, derech taburo, and that works through the navel cord, the umbilical cord. Sheshamu mishkan habenei, that's where the intestines work. Every Amazon, the whole digestive system, which is not the case, the head of a fetus, with all of the aspects of its senses and breathing. There's no purpose to them whatsoever. It's like a dead person. And therefore, the head is between the knees to show that there's no life in the head. The head is not the main thing. Just like all of this metaphor we just gave, also the Jewish people at the time when they are in exile. The Kasiv, it says, Hashem Marom Yishag, it says that God from above roars, like it says in the Zohar. The Saleh Kodesh Baruch Hu, the God, so to speak, goes Marom above. The Kasiv, and it says, Rachel Mavakel Bonah. It says Rachel is crying for her children because he is not there. Who is he? This is talking about God. It should, because they are not. It says that he is not. What does it mean? Enenu bagav bana. God, so to speak, is not present among his children. The solid that he goes away. Just like a fetus. A fetus, so to speak, is not really alive there. It's just sort of, he is surviving. Perish, that God removes his presence, the Gila Elokusa, and his revelation from the lower worlds. And the world, therefore, is similar, looks like, it's a thing on its own. And the Hashman Leva'am, we can become, how do you say, fat-hearted, insensitive. Ve'inav Hasha, eyes are covered over, we've got eyes, we don't see godliness. Kiba Shamayim Imal, because on the heavens above and on the earth below, there's nothing except for God, and we don't see it, we don't feel it. So it's like a fetus in the womb of the mother, right? Fetus in the womb of the mother. It doesn't see, it doesn't feel, it's totally insensitive to what's going on, what the truth is. It doesn't feel its mother, it doesn't know anything. But it's not aware, it doesn't give thanks. Oh, thanks, Mom, that you ate something good, right? It's just there. The same thing is the Jewish people in exile. We're just here. We don't know we're Jews. We don't feel we're Jews. We don't feel that there's God. We don't feel we have a responsibility to God. We don't feel that we have any connection whatsoever to God. We don't even feel that there is such a thing as God. Only if you really have faith and you really, because we're in exile. That's the idea of being like a fetus. I feel hashpas mitzvahs maisos. Even when we do good deeds, the commandments, shem mazon and nefesh, that those are the food for the soul. Nevertheless, eino over derech neshima. It doesn't go through the mouth. The shloach chayes lalev, that the heart, the emotions are enlivened, lamoach, and then the intellect, laman dat, so that we should know God, to love Him. We do the commandments, we learn the Torah, that's called food. But the food, so to speak, goes into our navel. We're not aware of that it comes from God, that it gives us life. We feel our Jewish soul becoming enlivened. To serve God with all of our heart, with Lev Shalom, with a complete a complete heart, benefesh chafetza, and a desirous soul, the teshuka, borgeshes, which is felt in the heart, kalosh bosh pe'eh, like a flaming fire, shalavas v'tzimon. Ki'im, we don't feel all those things. We don't feel that the commandments come from God. We don't feel the Torah comes from God. Even, the Rebbe is talking to religious people here now. He's talking to his Hasidim. He's not talking about everybody else. Like it says, the only reason that we fear God is because we're taught to, and we go through the motions, like a play actor, like a play actor. I know, asiya gashmis, we just do it, bekriros and coldness. That is exile. So we have exile. We have the Jewish people, that most of the Jewish people don't believe in God, don't even care about God. I mean, now things are changing. But if they do, now I see it's changing. But up to now, it doesn't come from you. It comes from, you're in the world, you feel you're a Jew, and therefore you say, I should, do the commandments. I do the commandments. I serve God. I love God. But it's almost like a person that he's got like a talent to be a musician, but he doesn't really feel it. He knows he has a talent, but he doesn't really work at it. He doesn't. So it's the same thing. The Jewish people, even the ones that are religious, they do Torah and the commandments. They don't feel God. They don't love God. They try. Maybe they try. But it's like a fetus. It eats, but it doesn't develop his personality at all. the fetus, which is not the case. Let's say you take a regular, normal person, a person that doesn't eat for a long time. So he becomes very obsessed about food, and he becomes very weak. And he can't help others. He can't care, except in very rare examples. His personality doesn't come out, right? He's just starving. Doesn't feel anything. Well, that's what happens to the Jewish people, their soul, when they're in exile. The soul is like starving. There's no personality. It's just existing. So we're serving God. We do serve God, but it's in a cold way. In other words, our soul is in a fetal state. That's what it's called. The Ikar Galus. That's the main thing of exile. The whole purpose of the Moshiach, that's the idea of giving birth, Galus or Hashem, and revealing God. Bekirav ish, inside of each person, belev amok, in the depth of the heart. Like it says, benigla kavod avaya, the glory of God will appear. The roll called basar, and all flesh will see. And it says, v'ayin b'ayin yir'u, that we will see God face to face, eye to eye, like it was on Mount Sinai. Well, how is this going to be? In Mount Sinai, we got a little bit of a glimpse that there is such a thing. It says Mount Sinai, every Jew is like in the Holy of Holies. Everybody saw, they felt the truth. Nowadays, what do we see? We see ourselves. Right? No matter what happens, in everything there is in the world, we see ourselves. We feel it's a natural thing. What am I going to get out of it? What does it mean to me? Is it a danger to me? Is it good for me? Is it So you develop all sorts of religions in the world that say you want the best for yourself. Yeah, you want to go to heaven? Yeah, I want to go to heaven. So then do what it says in our book, and you go to heaven. You're gonna die. You're gonna die one day. You want to go to hell? No, I don't want to go to hell. Then do what it says in our book. No, okay. But the whole thing is just people feeling themselves, themselves. That's it. Everybody does. Everyone does. And even if we get out of it, here we're learning these Maimorim and Chasidus. I'm not saying going to heaven is wonderful, but being in this world is incomparably better, and you can do what God wants, and God is creating you. And we know all these things. Here I'm explaining these things, but I don't feel it. You have to feel, why don't I feel it? Says the Rebbe, that's exile, that's galus. The most obvious thing in the world, that God is creating everything, we don't feel it. And God sends us messages constantly, but it's called hashgacha pratit. Everything that's happening in the world, it happens in the most miraculous and mysterious, amazing things. I mean, in addition to the fact that we're breathing and our heart is beating and that we can't understand it, right? But we don't feel it. We don't appreciate it. Right? And even if you want to say that, okay, the scientists, they just explain how things work. They explain how it works, but they can't explain what things are, what it is, why. They explain what it makes the heart beat. Why does the heart beat at all? What is life? What is a soul? right? Nobody knows these things. And so even after you realize that, and that it comes from God, still you don't get excited about it. Because you don't, the thing you really feel, right? The thing I really feel is myself. I feel myself. I don't feel godliness. I don't feel the most obvious thing. Even in the time of the Holy Temple, people would go to the Holy Temple, then they would feel this happiness. Then they would feel this gratitude to God. Then they'd feel everything is okay. Right? God is creating us, He's watching us, He's providing for us. We just have to do what He says. You get joy from doing the Torah in the time of the temple. But now we're in the time of exile. We don't even have that. In the future, Moshiach will come. He'll build the third temple, but then you won't have to go to the temple to reveal this. It says the whole world will feel the Creator. This whole thing depends on avodatenu, on maisenu, on our deeds, avodatenu, and our service in the time of exile. Who would believe it? The way that this redemption is going to come is by means of us believing that it's going to come and serving God as though it's here now, by arousing our love. Oh, now the Rebbe's thank you. Now we're what we have to do. You have to arouse your love, hamasuteres, which is concealed. The Rebbe is speaking here to Jews. Your hidden love, vadai, which is certainly in the heart of every single Jew. Love, burning love of God, until you desire, with a desire and even a lust, and your soul is like thirsty, to God. Hashem, ahavat Hashem, loving God becomes revealed in your heart. That's what it means, Shema Yisrael. That's the motto of Judaism. An interesting look over there, what Rashi says about Shema Yisrael. It's a sentence in what is it, in like the chapter 6 of the book of Deuteronomy. Where is it? Something like that. It's after 6. Look, it's near the in the middle over there. So this is the motto of Judaism. Shema Yisrael. Think, Jews. Think, contemplate. Hashem is Elokeinu. God is our God. God is the God of the Jews. We're special. We're the sons of God. As soon as you realize that, then Hashem Echad, then we can spread it to the whole world. The whole world will realize there's only one God, only one Creator. The Creator that's creating us is creating everybody. And then everyone will feel this love. Once you feel this, then after you'll have love of God. God is so good. Because Hine, behold, tzorech lahavim, we have to understand, milas echad, the word one. She'enu mora, it doesn't indicate, let me just give you one small example. What does it mean to love somebody? What does it mean really to love someone? Okay, so let's take a very simple example of loving somebody, loving a father to a son to a father, a son to a mother, parents to their children, children to them. It could be that's maybe the best example of love, potentially. There are parents that mistreat their children. There's children that are just ingrates, right? They're just children that they're selfish and they just don't care. But if the love is there, it's a tremendous love, and especially if the parents bring it out, a husband and a wife, especially if they bring it out. How do they bring it out? One way is by saying a good word. We love you. We care about you. You're special to us. And helping your children. And the same thing with the children helping the parents, right? A parent loves to hear it. A child says, I love you. Anything I can do, please call me. I'm willing to help. I'd say a positive relationship. When you see that somebody loves you, so you love them. Somebody brings out the value in you, so you love to be around that person. You love it. There's other types of love also. A person loves to eat fish, so he eats the fish, but that's selfish. And we're talking about true love. There is such a thing, despite what Freud and all those other sick, Adler and all these guys say. Right? All there is egotism. That's a lie. It's not so. The fact of the matter is there is true love and appreciation of others. When we feel that God is really creating us and He really is giving us potential, and He's trying to praise us, and He's trying to encourage us, the time if we just listen, then we would love Him. That's what we get from God, right? That's what's called a lower type of love, but it's love. It's loving God because God is so good to us. And then we come to love God, that's called giving birth. Because we have to understand, what does it mean that God is one? She'enu more, it doesn't mean it doesn't show on God's true oneness, which this is what we're going to learn tomorrow. We're going to go to this. Okay, we're going to try and understand, this is the key to loving God, the key to bringing the Mashiach, the key to waking up the whole entire world to how good the world is, how much God loves every person, that everyone can feel it. Everyone can feel encouraged. Everyone feels loved. No one is alone. Everyone can feel it. That's the job of the Jewish people. Shema Yisrael. Think, Jews, God is our God. We have this awareness. Don't be stingy. Hashem Echad, the whole world should know it. That's what it means God is one. And we're going to discuss this. What does it mean God is one? Tomorrow. Now let's do the Dvar Malchut.